Hello, everybody. I've got Michael here from College Hunks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, when I was at an event and I saw College Hunks, what came to my mind is not the business that he's in. Mike, tell us about your business.
Okay, so College Hunk, acronym for Hunk stands for Honest, Uniform, Nice, Knowledgeable Service. What we basically do, we're partners with Goodwill, so we're a donation pickup service, but then we also haul trash, junk. We're gonna go in, clean out the area, on one of the areas that people have allowed things to accumulate in their homes, maybe storage units, different things of that nature. And we're gonna go out in the system to get it out. So we like to call it our stress-free service. So we're gonna go out and try to make this as stress-free as possible for our clients, and then in return, they're obviously happy and they're greatly appreciative of our service that we provide, and then we go from there.
Well, how did you get involved in this?
It's funny. So I actually was in nursing, and I wanted to further my education in nursing, but I had to go back to school, and I needed some money. So I got online and found this company in Kansas City. They were hiring part-time, so I was like, oh, okay, well, I work at this nursing home at night. I can maybe do this during the day, save up some money, and then I can go back to school. After about my second month that I was there, I started really liking the company, and I started off as a mover in the company, and it was funny because I couldn't do it. So yeah, my first about 2 weeks, wasn't that I wasn't strong, but I guess I wasn't physically strong enough to do this, and something hit me and told me, like, no, you're not gonna give up, and I ended up becoming the best mover for the company. Ended up becoming a referred mover in the Kansas City area. I was highly referred by some of our top clients. Did a bunch of jobs for like the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Royals, different people, doctors, different things of that nature. And then I transitioned over to junk, and I became the GM of the company. Did that for about 6 years. Got an opportunity to move to Austin, and then ended up becoming the co-owner of the company. So it was a great semi-end to the story because it hasn't ended yet. So I'm still in the process of obviously growing this company here. So we are the biggest junk removal company, donation pickup service in Austin, Texas. So we're just continuing to keep pushing and going from there.
Well, number one, I'm very proud of you.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
When I met you at an event, your professionalism as well as your team stood out to me. And so I know what you do. Tell us a little about who you are.
I'm a giver first. I've always been really, really big about what I can bring to the table to help. So I was telling you earlier, I do music. So I started off in music. Had a couple studios. I used to throw parties back in the day. I had an issue. I ran into kind of a wall where I didn't want to feel. There's not a lane for really, really, really real positive music, especially from a young Black African American. Especially from a profitable standpoint. And I didn't understand that. So I got with a couple guys, a couple different artists in the area that I was growing up, trying to create this positive music, but nobody wanted to do it. It just wasn't appealing. So that's one of the reasons I took a break on my music, was so I could go and create a different stream of income for myself, so then that I can create that lane for myself and for others that also want to be able to make me. So I'm all about positivity. I believe that at some point I will change the world, or at least put my stamp on the world to be able to change it, to make it better. I'm about, making sure that people are aware of things, even if they don't want to hear it. Sometimes guys tell me all the time I'm a little unorthodox with the way that I move, just because it's funny, I told one of my guys the other day, and I said, I'm not going to change who I am to make you feel comfortable. I'm going to continue. I'm not, for example, if you get up and you get to walking and I think you're going to run into that, I'm not going to just sit here and allow you to run into that. I'm going to try to deter you. Now, if you still run into it, that's on you. But my goal is to help as many people as I come across. If I can talk to you about something, if it can enlighten you about something, if I can give you some of myself, things that I've dealt with in my past circumstances, experiences. If we can learn together, that's my ultimate goal. Just to make, and also I want to also bring light to I like to say, the voiceless and the unhighlighted. There's a lot of people, we're so quick to highlight things that maybe shouldn't even been highlighted in the first place, and there's kids out here maybe even grown folks that are doing amazing things, but don't have that platform to give them that, so that we can obviously get more people doing it. So that's kind of another goal that I have for myself as well, is to just be able to give somebody else that platform that the society normally will not give to us.
And where did that desire, because you're doing a lot of things, but what's standing out to me is you're passionate about helping people.
Yes.
How did that develop in you? Because I can't speak for you, but when I was young, my selfishness and self-centeredness was what developed the most. And now later on in life, it's about other people. You're a lot younger than I am, and for you to be at the point at which you are, there had to be some experiences that shaped you into caring so much about others. Can you share a little bit?
Yeah, honestly, it was growing up. My mom gave us the best life, and I'm thankful for it. But watching my mom grow up as a kid and seeing what she did, she worked for Girl Scouts for multiple years, for about almost 25 years. And when I watched the effect that she had on, she actually started a program called Beyond the Bars. So basically, she took children into the prison to spend time with their mothers that didn't get that opportunity. She also got the prisoners out of the prison to go to Camp Daisy, which is a camp for the Girl Scouts in Kansas. Which to me, as a kid, it really didn't resonate to me how huge that was until I got grown.
Right.
So my mom really inspired me, motivated me, pushed me to want to help. She's still, I tell her all the time, Mom, you got to do something for yourself at some point. But every day she wakes up, she's pushing herself to stay moving, just to be able to help the next person. Like I said, I've watched her every day of my life. A multitude of other people that I've come in contact with as well. But I would say the biggest thing that pushed me was my mother. Just watching her as a young man, her instilling some different things into me, praying over me, just different things that she did for me that kind of had me think differently. I haven't made the best decisions, so I have made some bad decisions. If I had done some things that I'm not going to say I regret, just because I learned from them. But as I get older, and I continue this journey in life, I just realized that, I can always just simply focus on, me. But for me, the fulfillment of life is me seeing other people succeed, other people achieve things. I got all the motivation of myself in the world. So, and for me, it's seeing if I can help somebody else see what I see in them. My eyes, I tell people all the time, my eyes are messed up. I don't see the negative. I try to focus on positive. So when I see you, I might see you differently than what you even view yourself. So my goal is to realistically help you be able to view yourself in a different light, maybe a different image, so that obviously then you can talk. You can really just kind of carry yourself. I tell people all the time, if you don't believe it. It was funny, I had some young guys at my job, 28 and down, told me they never wore a suit in their entire life. I came to work in a suit one day, and they were like, "Oh, who you think you is, and all this?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I've been wearing suits my whole life. I've been wearing suits since I was 3 years old. So this is second nature for me." And when I started to think about that image, like these young men don't even see themselves. So when I told one of my guys, I said, "Hey, I want you to promote into the office," he says, "No, I can't see myself in that position." And that's when I started to think, well, I got to figure out how can I get guys to change the way that they believe in themselves so that they can see themselves in other places other than just being the employee or being in the streets or being the drug dealer, being that, being those, or being the deadbeat daddy, because that's the normal imagery that we're going to be seeing, throughout, not in every aspect, but for a majority of us, we see that, and we all have that in our family, so it's just, like I said, for me, I just want to be able to see if I can, whatever I can do. I live my life learning, experiencing things, put myself through some of the worst things the average person would even never do, but I put myself through it knowingly that in the end, I'll be able to help more and more people, knowing based off of my experience and what I've been dealing with.
I think that's awesome. And so, in the midst of the work that you're passionate about, in the midst of being an entrepreneur, what are you doing to relax. So when I say relax, for a man like you that's driven, let me be a little more specific. What do you do, few and far between, to make sure that you stay healthy, motivated, and enjoying life?
So it's funny you say that. So in my 20s, I'm 32. So when I was in my 20s, I didn't care about health. I was the type of guy I could eat Wendy's every day, 2 or 3 times a day, like clockwork. It was funny. I didn't drink water. Didn't do a lot of things, just ignorance, as I tell myself now. But my health and my peace and my happiness is the most important thing to me in my life at this point. So one of the things that I started focusing on, because I started to realize that my brain is my biggest muscle in my body, and until I can unlearn the negative bad habits and start learning more positive good habits, it's impossible for me to realistically position myself to obtain that peace, the happiness, which is something that I think a lot of people accept things. So they really obtain happiness, or are you just accepting the current circumstance? So every morning I get up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I've been doing this for about a year and a half, 2 years now. I get up in the morning, I do for me first before I do for anybody else. That's something huge that I have had a bunch of great results with, because I told myself if I'm going to love myself first, I should be able to do for me first. I have 3 kids. I have a family that I love and adore, but like I told them, there's no disrespect. Daddy love y'all, but I got to do for me. If I'm going to be the best man, the best father for you guys, I have to be able to get up in the morning. So I don't wait till 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock when I'm with my kids. No, I get up prior. So I get up at 2. I realize that there's no discipline in staying up late. So I used to be a night owl, but there's a lot of discipline in getting up early. So now I get up early every morning. I do something for myself. So I work out, I read my books, I pray, maybe do my meditation, stretch, whatever it is that I can do for me. But I instill in me first, which has been really huge. I think a lot of people, it's so funny because I've watched myself and other people. We get up, we set our alarms on our phone and say we're going to be at work at 8 o'clock. So we got the snooze button, alarm go off at 7, snooze, snooze, snooze. So then when we get up, the first thing we do, or we're doing something for somebody else. So we're not, in all reality, is that really what you wanted to do? Is that what you accepted? You know, I even tell guys all the time, even for like job per se, when you get online and you apply, you're not applying for the job you want, you're applying for the job available. So you're accepting something that's available, not realistic. Are we walking into that job telling them, hey, I know you guys have the fry, I'm applying for the fry cook today, but I'm the manager. And I just want to let y'all know that. Most people aren't doing that. So that's why I get up in the morning first, and I do for me first, so that when I start my day, I'm starting it the best way possible. I'm giving myself the best foot to be successful today. I'm giving myself the best opportunity to combat any negativity that might come my way. I don't listen to negative music. That was another big thing that I cut out of my life, which then has allowed me to start finding other positive things to listen to instead. So now I don't have all that negativity going through my brain, which in result, I did some research on it, manifests the negative things that happen throughout my day. So I tell people all the time, that people think I'm crazy, but I'm like, hey, if you're listening to negative music, just cut it off in the morning and watch how much better you start your day. So that's some of the things that I do that helps me focus on me being happy and then on top of that, my cutoff game. I tell people all the time, my cutoff game is strong because I've realized that some people shouldn't get you. You know, not everybody should have the ability to be able to touch you, to be able to talk to you, to be able to, because they're going to drain. If they're not instilling in you to a certain extent. Now, I do have the people that I want to instill in, so that's a different situation. But I do have those drainers, I like to call them, and they come in to take away. So once I come to that conclusion on who you are, and this is family, this is friends, this is not, I tell people all the time, it's not personal, it's business, because I have a life that I want to achieve. I have goals for myself personally, that I will achieve, that it's non-negotiable for myself. So, and with that regard, unfortunately, if you're not in line with what I'm trying to do, I have to cut you. It's not that I want to, because I still got love for you. I still, you know, maybe it's an old friend that I grew up with, but I started to realize as I grow, also my circle should change. Because if they're not willing to grow with me, I can't take them with me. I have to let them stay where they're at because they will not allow me to move forward. I can try, but then I got that luggage that everybody talks about and I'm carrying and I'm pulling along the way, which is just gonna make that road so much harder to bear. So I've learned that. I went through my 20s carrying everybody on my shoulder, and when I got to 30, 31, I told myself, no, you know, at this point, I want to do what I can do so that I can open myself for the multitude of people that I'm going to meet. I don't want to be just focused on the people that I know that I'm seeing every day, continue to do the same thing over and over each year, calling me, hey, Mike, man, I need another job again. It's like, okay, well, come on. Where I could be giving myself to somebody else that, quote, might deserve it or might really, really, really need it and not just as dependent on me because I allowed it, you know, because I accepted that, you know, so.
That's definitely some wisdom. I attempt to, when I have time to do it, offer, do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I guess for me, yeah. So as you being a African American male, because I'm really big on the older generation because they say that there's a disconnect between the older male and the younger male. I guess first question, do you believe that? And with you obviously working with, you know, the younger youth, do you believe that there is that disconnect? And if you do believe that there's a disconnect, what do you believe is what stimulated that disconnect between us?
I believe there can be a disconnect.
Okay.
There is not always a disconnect. And I believe that that is based upon the socialization of the older as well as the younger individual. And an example would be a younger person who has been socialized, taught, raised up, respecting their elders and looking to their elders for instruction, at times correction and guidance. They're going to be more in line with a generation or generations that were born before them. Older individuals, older generations who have been socialized to not only be bitter, but selfish and have a lot of unresolved issues, they're not going to see the world in a manner that they can communicate appropriately with a you. So it becomes just slogans like, when you get old like me, you understand. Or you just don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Because there's sometimes revelations or thinking that younger people can have that older need to learn from. And there's also older people who have thinking and have learned some lessons that young people need to learn from. But if either of those individuals have not been socialized in a manner to promote, help, and appreciate the distinctions of age, then there is going to be a disconnect. What I found personally, the only area that I can actually say I feel disconnected with youth concerning is there are a lot of young people ages 18 or under who will not look at you in your face. Literally, you and I can be holding a conversation, but they'll look like we were sitting right here and they're just looking off of that. And no matter how much I have availed myself, I don't understand it. Now I know when I speak to my friends who are in mental health, when I speak to my friends who are into psychology, they tell me this, that, and the other, but on a gut level, I have seen that particular generation, when I say 18 and under, who with regularity will meet you and look off in the distance the whole time they're standing there listening or they're conversating. And that's the only area that I really feel disconnected. And so I'm continuing to seek some reconciliation in that, not reconciliation. Like when I was young, say boy, look at me eye to eye. Say boy, I'm over here, because I thought like that.
Right.
But that doesn't work, because although they're looking, they're not there.
Right.
And so that's where I would say, on a personal level, I do feel somewhat disconnected with that particular generation.
I see. It's funny you say that, because I got two of these, unfortunately, but I feel like this is also a blessing but a curse.
Okay.
Because the younger generation, I've dealt with this a lot in my line of business, just hiring younger guys. They don't even know how to communicate outside of shooting text messages through the phone. I have guys, I tell my guys all the time, if you need to talk to me, to discuss anything with me, you know where my office is. You come and talk to me like men. I don't want you sending me no text messages, because I'm not going to text you back. Don't call. If you call me, you can leave me a voicemail, because I'm in the office 7 days a week, so there's no reason why you can't catch me. I'm here from 6 a.m. till at least 3 o'clock every single day. So there's no reason that you guys can't catch me, but I've still found that guys will do anything in their ability to try to get away from putting themselves in that uncomfortable state, to be able to communicate. And it's weird, because I feel like society has transitioned us into believing that this is the new form of communication, when in all reality it takes away from the human connection that we could all have. Like you said, being able to actually look at somebody eye to eye, be able to shake somebody's hand. I see guys, everybody want to do all the basketball, all the extra stuff. I'm like, man, why can't you just shake my hand like a man and then walk away? It doesn't have to be all the extra at the end of it, all that extra stuff. But I start to see that with our younger generation, and I've always just heard my younger guys will come in and be like, oh, y'all older guys don't. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm in my 30s, I ain't that old, but they're like, you guys just think y'all know it all, or y'all don't want to listen to us, or anything of that nature. So yeah, that's the reason why I asked, because I don't get to find gentlemen like yourself too often, especially from where I come from, from the Midwest. Which I'm not saying that they're not there, but normally they're in the church. Which there's in the Midwest, I feel that it's the streets or the church. That's your two options. Either you're going to be the church boy or you're going to be the street. There's really no in between. So which is, I'm not gonna say it's a bad thing, but it is to a certain extent, because we as a man, I grew up in the church. When I got older, got out of the church, Tipper Tammer, went back and forth. I learned that I can't be first who somebody else sees me as. So even when I was in the church, they saw me as the musician. They told me that if I played outside of the church, God wouldn't bless me. Then when I took the street route, they told me that if I did anything outside of the streets wouldn't bless me. But these are the people in those elements that are telling you. Unfortunately, the older generation is telling me these things, and I had to. It's funny, because communication, they say the most important part of communication is listening. And so I flipped it, because I said, first off, who are we listening to? Because I'm not just going to listen to just anybody. Your conversation has to hold leverage. If you're just telling me, I don't care if you're 60 years old, but if you're telling me something that holds nothing of leverage or can bring value to my life, why do I have to listen? Because you stayed in your age of 30. You never progressed. You never did. So I think, going back to the question I asked about the disconnect, I think a lot of the issue is that a lot of the older generations stayed stuck and didn't progress. So now that 60-year-old man that may have some game to give, but because of what he's doing is not appealing. You're still, working at waste management. You're not actually doing something that we would see as appealing with the younger generation. Now there's a disconnect already, because oh man, what can you tell me? I don't want to be doing what you're doing. And I've seen that a lot with the younger generation, that they just don't want to connect with somebody that ain't a rapper, that's not a ball player, that's not a movie star, and it makes it difficult unless they've hit rock bottom and they really, really need the help for us to connect with them. But no, that's a good perspective though on how you kind of explained because I think that is right on point.
Something else that my personal belief, I believe that superiority and inferiority has a lot to do with it. Meaning there are a lot of young men who have not had a man in their life to help them build esteem, and so they find their esteem in what they have or the way others see them. So really it's an inferiority complex, just my opinion, just a little bit. And then on the other side, I would say for some older individuals, and it's not always the youth have inferiority, sometimes it can be the adult, but the superiority complex is the older people sometimes are really not satisfied with their life. So rather than being quite honest and say, I'm really not satisfied with the way my life has turned out, I'm really not satisfied with the way I've done things, they will hold on to a system or an ideology and put it as a great big idol, like this how it is. I'm gonna raise him up tough. I'm gonna raise him up tough. What is tough?
Right.
Because tough at times could be, I have a slight injury, just a very slight injury. I feel like I'm cramping a little bit on the football field, but I know that I don't want to let my team down, so I'm just gonna gut through this because I know it's slight. I can drink a little Gatorade. But that same toughness doesn't demonstrate itself with a woman when she requires our patience. With a child when he wants our time versus I work all day. Man, I gotta go hang out. But you're hanging out and your work leaves no time for the kids. And so that toughness, that phrase, you gotta be tough. Some older men, I'll say, that I've known hold that as an idol. And they try to make that the superior mindset versus one of understanding, one of humility. And so just a little thinking on that.
No, that's a fact. I think that's a fact. It's funny because I even resonate in my life with my family. Unfortunately, I have some of my family members that chose the street life, and I'm sorry because I chose to do something outside of that. So it's not appealing to the younger men in my family what I do. Oh, you just a junk hauler. You're not doing nothing. So, but then somebody that may have spent 10 years of their life in prison, they're quote unquote tough.
I understand.
There, so that they rather get that title over their life than and experience that, take those type of chances. Where I told myself, no, I don't want to go. I went to jail one time my whole entire life, and it was funny because now that I went through it, I laugh about it. I broke up a fight. I had a girlfriend and one of my kids' mothers got into a fight, and we were at a Denny's. It was about 3:00 in the morning, and anyway, it was a big brawl pursued. Women fighting. I'm trying to break up a fight. And pursued outside. I'm trying to stop people from leaving because I want people to get in trouble. I'm not going to snitch, but I want people to get in trouble. I know the police is coming. When the police got there, they didn't announce themselves. I didn't even know the police was there. I got maced. Didn't know who maced me. Couldn't breathe. Got slammed on my head. Got knocked out. When I came to, two officers, at this point I've realized it's the officers. They're dragging me across the ground, throwing me in the backseat of the car. I was locked up for 6 hours. Didn't see a thing. So I don't know what my arresting officer, the 6 officers that lied on me, that said that I hit my kid's mother in the back of the head, because it never happened. He even went and asked my kid's mother. He was like, hey, did he hit you? And she said no. And he came back and said, hey, you're right. I'm laying in the backseat of the car. He's like, you're right, you didn't hit her. And he said, I don't care. Because I don't care if she presses charges. It's that Kansas is pressing charges. And they put me on the news as a gang-related brawl. Not even affiliated with gangs. So when I got out of jail the next morning, I had my pastor calling me, hey, what's going on? I'm Godfather. Like, gang-related brawl, what's going on? I'm like, no, I don't know any of this. So defamation of character. That's the reason why I like to expose people to information, because at that time I didn't know what I was dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of me, seeking lawyer, some type of advice, we got the public defender, didn't have the money to get the lawyer. So get the public defender. Public defender then tells me specifically, there's no jury in the United States that's basically going to believe you, a young black boy, over 6 sergeants in America. Even though they knew it was a lie, the sergeant, I told them, go get the camera footage. That's all you gotta do. Go get the camera footage and you'll see exactly what happened. But because those 6 officers said they seen me do it, so I had to take a diversion. I pleaded guilty to something that I knew I didn't do. One of the worst decisions that I did. That's why I laugh about it now, because I've learned from it. But that's the reason why I'm really big on pushing, young men to get out of the norm of what we do, because it's so normal for us to fall into that type of lifestyle and get caught up. And next thing you know, you're caught up in the system and you don't know how to get out. And then we wonder why we have so many of our young black families broken. It's because we're falling right into the hands of I told myself, I was like, what was I doing out at 3:30 in the morning in the first place anyways? I could have been asleep, which I was supposed to be asleep, or now I flipped it. Now I'm getting up when people are leaving from the club. So I flipped my mindset on how I operate. So now I'm very intentional and strategic about how I operate and move throughout my day, so I don't put myself in those situations. Because I understand that there's somebody else out here that might have a different ulterior notion for how he's going to end that night tonight. He could have been dealing with some things. I don't know what that officer had going. I don't, still to the day, I know what his voice sounds like. So if I was to see him and hear him, I could say, yeah, that's him. Never forget his voice, but never seen his face. And it was funny because when they pulled me into the jail, they strip searched me. So they pulled me out. They were supposed to take me to get medical attention because they maced me. I couldn't see. Couldn't even breathe. No, they didn't. And then when the shift change happened, they told the new officers that I was drunk and belligerent, don't help me. So I sat there for 6 hours before the woman, she heard me crying, it was a black lady, heard me crying and crying. I'm like, somebody help me. I'm in this little bitty cell. I can just feel the walls. And I'm like, hey, I can't breathe. I can't see. Can somebody help? She finally came over and opened the cell up and was like, what are you doing? And then when she looked at me, she was just like, oh my God, I'm just so sorry. So she finally gave me some water. And then when I got my eyes open, that's when I was like, man, I've been in here for 6 hours? That's ridiculous. So, my first experience was my last experience. And I told myself, I'm okay with going back for a major reason, no different than civil rights movements and different things of that nature. But I won't go back for stupidity. I won't go back for something that I've done, something buying into a system that I already know realistically what the outcome is. So I won't go back. So that's why I try to tell my young guys, like, stop selling drugs. Stop going out in the streets, robbing them people. There's no reason for you to be out at 2 o'clock in the morning riding around. Like, there's no reason for you to be moving around at that time. You're putting yourself out, and now you're putting yourself in a predicament. And when you put yourself in a predicament, that predicament is going to deal with you. I like to position myself so then I can deal with any predicament that I run into. So that's kind of my...
Definitely. Any more questions before we let it go?
I think I hope maybe in the future we'll be able to do some more of these.
So look forward to it.
Yes, sir. So I'm good to go today. Yes, sir.
We appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
All
yes,
right.
sir.